Now, do you get a lot of young people in there, in the Livengrin?
Yes.
When I say young, I'm talking about teenage?
We do have an adolescent program in our Fort Washington office. Our inpatient program is 18 to,
Right.
so we do see 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. Majority 18 to 26 are more opiate dependent.
Now, when you talk about addiction, addiction has affected every family, every other family in America. Wherever you go, everybody knows someone who's faced an addiction issue, whether it be with relatives or cousins or brothers-in-law. How do you, as an educator and somebody who's involved with this particular program, get the message out to younger people to be very, very careful what they take? Are you involved in that too?
Yes, our organization is involved in going into the high schools and doing presentations, more prevention program. As I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Chief Colorado.
Chief, as the chief was saying, one of the things that happens though is you're saying, okay, somebody gets caught with one joint, and we're going to send them to treatment. Well, people who get caught with one joint or are using minimally don't meet criteria for treatment. So there's a kind of disconnect in that. Prosecutors will send them in and say, here, we want you to treat, we want you to put them in inpatient. Well, they got caught with one joint. We coupled up with the University of Pennsylvania, and we're doing assessments for that. So if someone gets caught smoking marijuana, we meet with the college student. We discuss, we do an assessment to determine what the appropriate level of care is, whether it be like a DAP program, drug awareness program, and/or outpatient, inpatient treatment, detox, whatever. So we are working with the we're working with the college university to help younger people be better educated and hopefully not have a record as a result of one offense.
Assemblyman, what's the support for your efforts in the legislature, in the Assembly and the Senate in New Jersey to decriminalize levels of marijuana use?
Well, the bill has bipartisan support. I have a conservative Republican co-prime sponsor, and hopefully we'll have a hearing, but I think that the governor has taken a position, let's make the medicinal marijuana program work first before we talk about any decriminalization matters.
I assume as a former prosecutor he's a little leery.
He is. But the good thing about New Jersey is we're ranked 40th for the amount of kids from 12 to 17 that use marijuana. So we have a pretty good track record in the state. I do agree there needs to be some kind of a balance, that I would rather see treatment rather than criminal prosecutions. And at the same time, I would not want the pure recreational user who is not going to take treatment seriously to be intermingled with the treatment population that wants to be treated.
I guess the big issue for a police officer is the proliferation and spread of this kind of thing. Do you deal with a lot of adults who are totally under the influence all the time?
Unfortunately, yes, and especially many DUI situations where people drive a motor vehicle either under the influence of marijuana, alcohol, or some other type of substance. And I mean, it's a continuing problem. I understand that it's being looked at from a lot of different perspectives, but there's no easy solution to this, and I just don't think it could ever be decriminalized. Maybe you can lessen the impact of the sanctions, but there has to be a learning curve, and there has to be a counseling component involved with that as well.
Tough question. One of your officers is out on any given night, and they encounter two kids, 17, 16, 15, and they're smoking marijuana in a parking lot. What do they do?
Well, they get arrested, and they log that as evidence, because that is evidence, and that's contraband. It's the fruits of the crime, and you can't throw it away, you can't discard it, and you can't kick them in the butt and say go home and don't do it again. It's just unethical for an officer to do that.
What if you go to a concert, a big concert in Philadelphia or something like that, and you see marijuana use? Although you don't see it as much as you used to.
Well, Larry, you gotta realize what you're up against, and if you're at a concert with 20,000 people and you're there with 50 police officers, obviously you can't enforce it, and you have to understand that discretion is the bigger part of valor there, and but it doesn't make it any less serious.
So at last count, 18 states and Washington, D.C. have approved the use of marijuana for medical purposes. Is there any, in your perspective, Pennsylvania is not one of them. Do you think Pennsylvania should have that? or do you think it would be risky?
I don't know whether marijuana should be legalized or not. And I was thinking about the use of medical marijuana and about the doctors, and doctors are going to prescribe. There's going to be corrupt doctors, corrupt police officers, unethical counselors, politicians. We all have it, but I don't think that that's something that we can control. So if legislation passed that that cannabis is to be used for treatment, and people become dependent as a result, we will treat them just like with any other drug. I can't control what doctors do. Do I think that they can be helpful in treating certain disorders and medical problems? Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of research that says it does.
Little time left, but just real quick. When you launched this campaign of yours, what was the primary motivation of it? Was it younger people?
There was a 27-year-old that had brain cancer, and his parents were going out and buying marijuana for him because it was the only thing to deal with his nausea. So that was the impetus for medical marijuana. But as a prosecutor, I see far too much police resources used on prosecuting the recreational user, and I don't think the punishment fits the crime, nor should we be expending that much police resources for the prosecution of the analyst of marijuana and bringing lab technicians into court, and I think we have better things to do.
Would your perspective, which is a tougher perspective on this, be the same if you were the police chief of Philadelphia as well as instead of Radnor?
It would be the same even if I wasn't a police chief. If I was just John Q. Public, which I will be one of these days, Larry, it would be the same standpoint that I have now.
Yeah, so the pressure of being in a middle class, upper class suburb has nothing to do with this.
Absolutely not.
Is it actually worse?
I would say it's not as worse as the city, no, unfortunately. And I love the city, that's where I came up at, but no, the suburbs is nowhere near as bad as the city is.
But might it be hidden there?
Well, it's a smaller percentage of people. Is there, relative to the population, is there abuse going on? I'd say absolutely yes, but again, not to the level that is going on in the city.
Thanks for joining us. Bill Colarulo again. He joined us a couple of months ago about internet abuses and the behavior of young people and gang problems. Reed Gusciora, Assemblyman from New Jersey, and Tina Rowan of the Senior Counsel, Livengrin Foundation for Addiction Recovery. Thanks for joining us. It's a great debate. If you want to join us, get on Twitter or write to me at larrykane.com. Have a great evening, and thanks for being with us.